built it up and all that kind of thing, and yeah, I never looked back for there really.
Fantastic. And then does that push you on? Does that give you the momentum, the belief that the writing is a thing, a track to follow?
Definitely, because I had a lot of time on my hands then, and then I wrote Doogie Doogie, which was basically a series of blogs, but it was about saying, the message was saying, look, didn't slag the media, become the media. That's the thing.
Right.
Become the media. It, like yourself with a podcast, all that kind of thing. Get out and date yourself. Didn't sit there and
take
go,
up,
fucking
please.
Stevens is a wanker.
Aye.
Fucking get out there and date yourself. And that was the message with that. And then the book that really started to move things on was Wim's Tim's, because I had a relationship with Simon Donnelly. I should clarify
let's
that.
backtrack here.
Nah, fuck that, I will clarify. But Simon Donnelly I'd interviewed about a year before to a friend of a friend, and we just kept in touch. The day the Scottish Cup final in 2011, we beat Motherwell 3-0. I'd went to watch that game, and I went to watch it in the parlour, and if you remember, it was pretty dreadful, that game. I was almost falling asleep, to be honest. But we'd planned this big day out, me and Gary, and we went to my girlfriend's bar, the Perfect Pint, and in Manhattan, and I was like, Gary gets this phone call for his wife's emergency and he come home. It wasn't anything that bad, but it was, oh my God. So that was the night Kai boshed. It's like, fuck it. Never had a lot of money at the time, so it's like, I'll just go home and save the money. Well, I've saved $60 or whatever, right?
Look at it that way.
Fucking Gary's on the phone to me. Oh no, it's no, don't worry, you can come back. I was like, I said, well, I'm already on the train. I said, look, fuck it, we'll do it. So I went back. So I went back that night, Richard. Simon Donnelly was in Ecuador. He was doing Mount Cotopaxi for the O'Donnell Trust.
Right.
And what had happened was he'd went up and got altitude sickness, which is something that can, so there's a young, very fit guy.
Exactly.
Kai Bosch, you know what I mean? So he went back to the hotel and the Celtic Motherwell game was on the fucking telly. Now anybody who was at that game or watching the telly, remember, the chant that went up before that game started was, there's only one Phil O'Donnell.
Aye.
So he's thinking, holy shit, this is like, ooh, Then he relays the story to me via Facebook on the Messenger. Right. And I thought, this is a sign. I need to write about this. Here's Simon Donnelly. He was in the team at Stoke Tenero.
Exactly.
He's climbing a mountain for Phil, who was in the team. Jackie's with him.
Yep.
So I started. So when I actually wrote Wim's Tim's, it says on the back of the book, it all started with a call for Ecuador, because it did. And I spoke to them, and it was weird, Richard, because me and Simon are really close. Jackie, I know. But me and Sid are really close. I'm not close to Jackie or anything like that, but all the way, that was the summer of 2011, so that's over 3 years ago. I found it very hard getting over the fact that you used to play for Celtic.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just, that's always there. the elephant in the room.
And you didn't want to be like an arsehole and start saying, what was he like and all that, but yeah, kind of thing. And I wrote the book, and I thought, great, again, kind of fanzine style, because remember, I'm not thinking anybody outside my circle's interested in this shit, right?
Right.
And I wrote the book, and then he said to me, this is what really started to holy shit, I'm going to take it round to Eileen. And I said, who's Eileen? He said, Phil's wife. Oh no, you know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, I never knew this was going to happen.
You're certainly going over every single paragraph you wrote in your mind.
And he came back, and that was a nervous few days, you know what I mean? Because what the fuck is this shit, you know what I mean? So she's honestly, she was in tears. I was like, holy shit. And I remember that night speaking to Sid. I was in New York, and Sid told me about going to their house when Phil had died. Like that night, him and Jackie, and he said, we sat there like two wee laddies. What do you say? You can't say anything. And then he told me about carrying Phil's coffin, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. And that's when I realised, as a writer, the impact. You can't be just an arsehole who writes anything you like. This is people, this is human beings you're talking about, and it's real people, So just, God forbid, but just imagine a close family member of yours dies, and then I write a book about them. I started to wake up a bit. I'd be like, holy shit.
Right, okay.
And but then of course I ended up coming home, and it was one of these scenarios. My ma wasn't too well, and I spoke to her doctor. She said, you should maybe think about it. I said, right, fine, fuck it, because we're ready to come anyway.
Right.
And I remember we had the choices. We could come back on the 29th of December or 26th, $200 difference, cheaper than 29th. But certainly we're paying reasons of 28. I said, fuck it, you want to get him as soon as possible, don't you? You know what I mean? And I tell you, it's probably one of the reasons we ended up split up. My wife never, I cannot believe the day we got back, you fucking left me to go to a fucking football match. What you got to do? It was one of the best nights of my life. Joe Ledley, I was in with the Green Brigade.
Oh, were you?
Or that kind of thing, and it was fucking amazing. You know what I mean? Because I firmly believe, Richard, just to tie in with a wee segue maybe, that was the night that it was all over for them.
Right.
Because I think that when you're top of the league, you can tell your fans anything. But when you start going down, that's when the spotlight goes on, the scrutiny starts. And that's when we overtook them that night, and that was the beginning and the end for them. Like, I really believe that,
And when you did come back, the bug's still there, the writing's still there, or is it more a job, or is it, how are you viewing it?
I'm coming to necessity, because when we come back, we never really had much money. I wrote Paul's Goals in Hesselink in a month.
Yes.
I done it in an internet cafe in Leith, because we never had it. We were homeless effectively, and we never had internet access or anything like that, or even a computer, to be honest. And I wrote it at the home cafe in Leith Walk. I wrote it in a month. I'd always wanted to write about 89, 90 season, because it was the sort of season that I really grew up, and it was horrendous for Celtic. And I wanted to. We finished fifth in the league that year. We never won a league game between the 3rd of January and May. You imagine that now? It'd be fucking, Twitter would just melt down.
You try telling youngsters that these days.
But I thought you can't write a book like that without putting good stuff in it as well. So related it to the 2008 season, told stories about New York, and that's what the first book launch had come out in Scotland.
Yep.
But I'd had a book launch in the Bronx for Wims Timms, Graham, etc. had come up, unfortunately. And I can't get rid of the bastard since. Big Frankie and friends, and it was fantastic. It was one of the ones where you have all these things going on, you're hearing a book launch, will people buy the book, will they do this? That book launch, Richard, I had, say 50 books, I think it was. I sold all the books. It was certainly we were playing Hearts that day when Yama scored the winner, Foster saved the penalty in the last minute.
Yep.
I sold all the books before the game had started. With a raffle, all these prizes, golf clubs, sold all of them. I was like, in 15 minutes? Why can't it not be like this all the time? But anyway, so we've come back to Scotland, and then I thought, right, maybe we could do one in Scotland, Paul's Goals in Hesselink, because I realised that if this book thing was ever going to do anything for me, I had to do something. I couldn't just sit in the background and go, oh, here's a book, hope you buy it. I had to put myself out there. So it was Jason Higgins that I spoke to, I'm sure you'll know that name.
Militia Mafia.
Aye. And I said, what do you think? And he went, Jason, it's done, that's it, we're doing it. Without even discussing it,
Aye.
And on we go, and Jason, he got the Admiral Bar, and then they got short on us because Celtic happened to win the league that day.
That's right.
6-0 at Kilmarnock. My mate Mike Boyd to Chicago was over, that kind of thing.
Although that still didn't help your nerves with folk turning up, did it?
No, not at all.
Because after a title win,
I didn't think anyone was going to talk. I really didn't think it was. And I had got up there, went in the bar, and there was maybe like 5 people in the bar, and a couple of our mates had turned up. Like mates I'd known for years. And although I was having conversations with them, Richard, it was mere. I'm kind of like hi, and I'm looking around going, what the fucking hell? There's nobody here. And the next thing, the one of the owners of the Admiral come on and said, when are you going down? And I said, when people turn up? He's like, there's 70 people down there already. And I was like, what? And I went down and it was just like, oh wow, it's fucking packed. And it was like, fucking hell. And Jason was the MC of the night, as you remember. Had 1 or 2 drinks.
Aye.
Went up on stage, slagged me off for about 20 minutes, which, that's fine. I mean, that's no bother. But I was standing beside his brother Joe, and I'd say to Joe, listen, I'm going to say, I said, I know he's got to slag me off, so I've got to say something about your family it's not going to be too bad, but do you mind? He says, fucking go for it, he's an arsehole anyway. So I went up on stage, and Jason's giving me it tight for 20 minutes, literally. It was good, it was funny. And I went up on stage and I says, the fucking Higgins family, I says, we're the best snooker player ever, superstar DJ, and I get landed with this cunt as my MC. And that was it. And Joe's pissing himself and Jason's laughing, and I thought, oh good, Jason's laughing. And I spoke to Joe after it, and he was like, to be honest, I didn't even think Jason even heard what you said. He was that drunk. You know what I mean?
Go away with it.
And so, it went, 70 books here, sold a lot of them, signed them, people coming up, photos, this, that, and next thing. And people conquered out the place. Spoke to yourself, you know, done interviews and that kind of thing. And still after it, was a bit like, how did that go? Was it alright? And Mike, my mate from Chicago, went, Paul, when people conquer out a venue, it's went well. And it was just one of the warm bath moments where it was just like, here we go, like, you know what I mean?
So these are the books that we've not jumped into with The Last Pearl Diver, Albert Again Win, By Any Means Necessary. I mean, are you going through different targets as you meet them? Is it just a case of, right, well, what's my other stories I want to talk about?
I never really... So I always think somebody could sit down and say that I sat down and planned, I'll do this and I'll do that. I never ever done that, never. And as I Paul's Golden Hesslick came out, and then I'd amalgamated Albert Again Win was one book, and, and that was basically like just as an excuse for a night out, you know, and the Blackfriars and stuff like that. And then I wrote The Last Pearl Diver, which was kind of like a homage to my area in Muirhouse and that time of '94 and, you know, everything we went through and that, because I wanted to show people that were still defiant in that era, you know. But then I also wanted to show a character that was going through post-traumatic stress disorder. Because I knew that. And that's the oldest trick, oldest line in any writer: write what you know.
Right, what you know.
You know, you can only research so much. And unfortunately we live in an era where people think research is typing a name into Google. And it's just not. And so when I wrote The Last Pearl Diver, I used a lot of my younger life in that. And it actually went doing quite well. And so from there, I never really had a project beyond the one I was doing. Right, okay. We'll do that. And then, of course, The Last Pearl Diver comes out in March 2013. Yep. And then I'm kind of thinking at that point, because we've been in this whole backdrop of Rangers and cheating and stuff like that. Well, I'll write about that. Because the thing that had enraged me, Richard, was the aspect of Lord Nimmo Smith saying, right, well, they're guilty, but, you know, they never got a sporting advantage. Yep. It's like, well, I watched the games, I was there, I saw the sporting advantage they had. The sporting advantage was the fact that they could field these fantastic football players against everybody else in the league, even though they couldn't actually afford them. So I'll write about that. And so I started talking about this is what I'm going to do, and that's when I got contacted by The Source.
So The Source, the shadowy figure, the boat. Do you think part of his approach to you specifically comes from you starting to talk about these internet bampots and people starting to, wait a minute, we don't need all this, and we don't need these media establishment people trying to repaint history and tell us? Is it from him looking outside, seeing your work, that he said, do you know what, a wee feeler out here?
First of all, he was a Celtic supporter, I can tell you that right now, which is why he was interested in sort of rewriting a few of the wrongs that had happened. One of the first things he said to me was, he said, I love all the stuff, the podcast and that, but these are all so naive. So what do you mean? And he was basically like, well, these are all focusing on the wrong things. I'm sick of hearing about the media. The media's to blame for everything. And EBTs, he said, and remember, he was the guy that said to me, he said, EBTs were just a sideshow. I was like, well, alright, then prove it. And so we ended up, you know, we talked on Facebook, we talked on email, we talked on Skype, and we built up a relationship. And then he said, I'm coming over. Right. Because he stays in Central Europe, and I'm coming over to Edinburgh, but of course he's an Edinburgh man. And I was like, right, fine. This guy is as well to do as it gets, you know. He lives in Central Europe, he's kids go to great schools, you know, plenty of money, blah blah blah. But I said, right, you go